Hey guys, welcome back to the Matthew series. So now we're in Matthew chapter 8. Super excited to continue this, as I always am. I hope you guys are enjoying these videos. And anyway, let's get started. So we left off where Jesus was healing in different situations. He had just healed Peter's mother-in-law, and others came to him that were demon oppressed, and he was delivering them and all of that as well. And then we come to this point where there's sort of a cost of following Jesus, and Jesus emphasizes what that is. And the scripture tells us, now when Jesus saw a crowd around him, he gave orders to go over to the other side, and a scribe came up and said to him, "Teacher, I will follow you wherever you go." And Jesus said to him, "Foxes have holes and birds of the air have nests, but the Son of Man has nowhere to lay his head." Another of the disciples said to him, "Lord, let me first go and bury my father." And Jesus said to him, "Follow me, and leave the dead to bury their own dead." Here's a couple cool things about this. First of all, it says there was a crowd developing around him again. And the first time a crowd developed around Jesus, he went up a side of a mountain and he began to teach them. And that's where we get the Sermon on the Mount, which we just got through. But this time, Jesus is going away from the crowd. And he's emphasizing to his disciples and to others who want to follow him, like the scribe, saying, "I have no place to lay my head. My ministry isn't going to be dictated by the crowds, by where they go and how many they follow me. Like, I'm being led by the Spirit, by the Father. And so I have no place to lay my head." And then another more probably aggressive and more challenging truth that he offers his disciple, when he asks for permission to go bury his father, he says, "Follow me and leave the dead to bury their own dead." Now, this is a very tough teaching. Jesus is being as straightforward as possible that he is different. And that if you're going to follow him, it's going to mean that your life is going to look different in many, many ways. So following him isn't going to look like what we're used to, up to the point where we decide to follow him. It's a costly decision, basically, is what Jesus is telling these his own disciples and this scribe. And then we go to this next piece where he says, or where Matthew writes, "And when he got into the boat," because remember they were crossing, right? He's going away from the crowd that's developing around him. He's not ministering to the crowd at this point. He's getting away from them. "And when he got into the boat, his disciples followed him. And behold, there arose a great storm on the sea, so that the boat was being swamped by waves, but he was asleep. And they went and woke him, saying, 'Save us, Lord, we are perishing.' And he said to them, 'Why are you afraid, O you of little faith?' Then he rose and rebuked the winds and the sea, and there was a great calm. And the men marveled, saying, 'What sort of man is this, that even the winds and the sea obey him?'" Let's think about this for a second. Jesus makes this claim, right, to his disciples and to the scribe, that I have no place to lay my head. I have no place basically to call home. All right. And then if you're going to follow me, you need to leave family behind that aren't willing to follow me. Even in extreme situations where they're just burying a loved one, leave them behind. And then Jesus takes them across the sea and proves to them that he's different, that the cost of following him is different because he's different. He's not just any teacher, he's special. And they're so shook by what happened. They're marveling at what happened because Jesus wakes up and he rebukes the wind and the sea. And this is just like a Psalm of David, when David had victory over Saul and he was going to become king. Like, there's a part in that psalm where where David describes God as rebuking the waters, and it's very similar here, because here you see Jesus rebuking the wind and the sea, and they're at a calm. It's Jesus is different because he is God, and this is what Matthew is trying to relate to the readers here, that if you're just following a teacher, then yeah, probably go bury your father. Yeah, then weigh the cost if it's worth it or not to give up your whole lifestyle for him. But if this is really God, then it's totally worth it. And this stuck out to Matthew because obviously he experienced this. And they are like, what just happened? He just rebuked the sea and the waves, and the storm is completely still now. It's incredible. Um, this is why Jesus can make those difficult calls to follow him, because, again, he's worth it. Now, after this, Matthew writes, and when they came to the other side, to the country of the Gadarenes, 2 demon-possessed men met him, coming out of the tombs, so fierce that no one could pass the way. And behold, they cried out, "What have you to do with us, O Son of God? Have you come here to torment us before the time?" Now a herd of many pigs was feeding at some distance from them, and the demons begged him, saying, "If you cast us out, send us away into the herd of pigs." And he said to them, "Go." So they came out and went into the pigs, and behold, the whole herd rushed down the steep bank into the sea and drowned in the waters. The herdsmen fled, and going into the city, they told everything, especially what happened to the demon-possessed men. And behold, all the city came out to meet Jesus, and when they saw him, they begged him to leave the region. There's a lot happening here in Jesus' ministry, and I just want to go over it really quickly, but the first thing that is noted here is that these 2 demon-possessed men come meet Jesus. Jesus doesn't seek them out. He gets off the boat, and the first thing that happens is these 2 demon-possessed men come out of these tombs and approach Jesus. And then the next thing that happens is that they call him Son of God. Let's back up for a second. The only time Jesus was called the Son of God was when he was baptized. All right, so that happened around chapter 3. And the voice of God said, "This is my beloved Son, whom I'm well pleased." And then the next chapter, in chapter 4, when Jesus is tempted by Satan, Satan tempts him twice, questioning him, saying, "If you are the Son of God." And so there's 2 instances here, both supernatural. God speaking over his son, saying, "This is my son, my beloved Son, whom I'm well pleased." And then Satan going after his identity. And now, right, this is only the 3rd time they're face to face with demons, and they say, "Oh, Son of God," because they know who he is, and they refer to him with respect in his title because they know he's different. Again, this all comes down to this part right here, back at verse 18, and they start to ask, "Can I follow you?" The scribe's like, "Can I follow you?" And Jesus is like, "Well, I don't have a place to lay my head at night." And then another says, "Let me go bury my father." And he says, "Let the dead bury their own dead." What's happening in this hour in time, in this lifetime, even now, is we have the opportunity to follow the Son of God, right? And they couldn't see it if they thought anything else in the world was more valuable than him. And then the next instances that follow that Matthew writes out are proof that he stills the waters in the storm. I mean, they shouldn't have been afraid to die in that boat because God was in the boat with them. Was God going to perish? Of course not. So why would anybody on that boat perish? And they didn't understand that. And then they come face to face with these demons, and the demons say, "He's the Son of God." And so Jesus casts out these demons. So we're going to continue the story. He casts out these demons, and they go into these pigs. And Jesus would have known the consequences of doing this, because there are consequences to this. Matthew writes down that they're pigs, probably because he's making note that this was a Gentile area and that pigs were unclean. So of course the demons wanted to go into something unclean, because according to the law, pigs are unclean because it's just the way it is. They couldn't eat pigs. But we'll go over the law another time, but just know that pigs were unclean. And so Jesus, rebukes them, allows them to go into the pigs. They run off the cliff, and they drowned themselves, all the pigs, into the water. And the herdsmen are afraid, and they go tell everything, especially, this is what the word says in verse 33, especially what had happened to the demon-possessed men. And this is significant because Jesus allowed the demons to be cast into the pigs, and the pigs go and kill themselves. And this was a consequence. There was an issue for allowing that to happen, And that was that the people were more upset with their source of food, their economic situation, their source of income being completely destroyed, literally, in water, than they were fascinated with two demon-possessed men being set free. I mean, these people were notorious. They were infamous, right? They were known. That the word tells us that no one could pass that way because everyone knew that they were there and they were very strong. And yet these two men are set free. And instead of marveling at what God had done to set these people free, they're focused on how it affects them financially and how it affects them in their food. And this, again, goes back to Jesus' Sermon on the Mount. Matthew is very strategic in the way he's writing this. You got to understand, everything connects to him. That's why he's telling us the story this way. Does not Jesus tell us that that the body, right? Is life not more than food and the body more than clothing? I mean, wasn't that a teaching that Jesus gave on the Sermon on the Mount about anxiety, that we shouldn't worry about what we're going to eat or what we're going to wear? And these people couldn't see that. Yeah, they weren't there for that message, but the point was that they were more obsessed about where their source of income was coming from and where their source of food was coming from, that they couldn't appreciate and see what God was doing to set people free in their region. And because of that, they kicked Jesus out of the region. I mean, that's how this chapter ends. They kick him out. They don't want anything to do with that. They want to just continue to do what they're doing. And of course, it's a scary thing, but that's something that we should reflect on a lot. And this is how Matthew is telling the story. He's the Son of God, and the demons knew that. And yet we witness him calm the storms, and we question, who could this be? And that same kind of questioning ultimately results in him being kicked out of that region. Different people, obviously. But you see how Matthew is laying this out. Anyway, we're going to stop here. Matthew chapter 8, that's the conclusion. It's awesome. I can't wait to get into chapter 9. There's only more and more and more of this being revealed, as amazing things being revealed as Jesus' ministry continues. But anyway, I love you guys. I hope you're having a blessed week. We'll see you soon.